This podcast is presented by Kano Batting Gloves, the best batting gloves in the market. Tired of being late to school or work? We have the solution by Roller Faster, the best way to get there on time. For the last 730 days, I have been investigating and analyzing a young boy named Turner Fox. He was a 13 years old boy who suffered child abuse, and that led him to do things that only a frustrated child will have done. If you are wondering, I am a reporter from DVC, and they gave me Turner's case to present it on TV. When I got home, I kept thinking about his case, and I decided to investigate in deep the case and his personal life. During my investigation, I discovered that Jessica, Turner's mom, was very loving with him and his dad. Unfortunately, the night of September 13 of 2010, they had a car accident in which Jessica lost her life. After all this, Turner and his dad went into a deep depression. Months later, Turner's dad became dependent on drugs and alcohol. This led him to be aggressive and an abusive man. Turner was a regular student. He passed all his classes but now with good grades. However, after the accident, Turner decided to be a good student to make his mom proud. After this terrible event, Turner's daily life has been very difficult. Almost every day, his dad admonished and abused him. This has been very frustrating for him because his mom was the only one there to support him. But now that she is missing, he is feeling empty and his dad is not helping with that attitude. Every time that his dad abuses or shouts him, Turner goes through a very hard moment and leaves his house. According to Turner's neighbors, every time that Turner left his house, he always was hanging with his best friend Peter, also known as the gangster. After this story, we decide to interview and interrogate Turner's best friend, Peter. So, Peter, how was Turner's demeanor when you were hanging out with him?
Shit, I mean, his mood and attitude was very depressed and paranoid, you know what I mean? He was looking everywhere like somebody was gonna hit him or some shit like that. Like something was gonna happen.
So, you told me about his mood and that, but what do you guys talk about when you guys were together?
Nothing special, bro. I mean, he was always talking about a situation with his dad or something like that.
So, you're telling me that he was talking about the situation with his dad, but how did he join the gang? How do you guys get to that point?
I noticed that he needs a family because his dad was not treating him like one. And I told Turner to join the gang because we treat each other like family, you know.
So, you're telling me that he joined the gang because Turner was in need of a family?
Yes, sir.
According to Peter, Turner joined the gang because he was in need of a family. In other words, Turner was lacking of love and affection. After this interview to Peter, I decided to interview a gang analyzer, who simultaneously is a detective. Mr. Garcia, introduce yourself.
I'm Mr. Garcia. I'm a detective, specialized in cases like this, where a child is abused by his dad, and the solution for this is to join a gang. Philip, the narrator, hired me to interrogate Turner's dad and to discover how was Turner's life in the gang.
How did your wife's death affect you emotionally?
Well, what can I tell you, Mr. Garcia? This event affected me a lot in a negative way. My life hasn't been the same after this.
It has been very negative for you. But what you did to recover from that situation?
Well, it's a long story, Mr. Garcia. One day after work, I was feeling bad, and I decided to go out with some friends. During the time we were hanging out, some friends were smoking weed and drinking Hennessy. After this, my friends told me to taste it, that maybe can get me better. Minutes later, I was feeling incredible. I was feeling pleasant. And going back to your question, what I do is drink a lot and smoke a lot. This is the way that I get better when I'm down.
How your attitude with Turner had changed after Jessica's death?
Well, my attitude was honor. I deserve. Since that strange moment, Mr. Garcia hasn't heard anything about Turner's dad. Mr. Garcia tried to see what was going on, and he went to Turner's dad's house, but he was not living there anymore. Going on in our search, I sent Mr. Garcia to see how was Turner's daily life in the gang.
To achieve my goal, or how is a day in Turner's gang, I went like an anonymous that want to join the gang. It was about 2 p.m. and they took me to a meeting. And there they told me a single story about the gang. The leader of the gang told me that it's like another family. He told me that each member of the gang will have my back. He also told me that the problem that any member in the gang is facing, other member of the gang must be part of the solution. When he told me all this, I understood how is a kid like Turner are convinced to join, because someone who is joining the gang is only seeing the good part of it. During the second day we met at the same spot, but my second day was really different. The leader of the gang told me to be prepared because all the gang was coming for problems. I remember that it was about 4:30 p.m. and a group of 4 was approaching us. We were like 6 in the group, and Turner was one of us. From one moment to another, the other gang started talking shit to us, and the only one reacting from a group were Peter and Turner. The other guys were really scared because they were new in the gang and they didn't know how to act, even though the rule of the gang was plain. 10 minutes later, they keep arguing, but the police arrived to the place and the other gang left. 2 days later, Turner was found murdered on the top of a house near where the discussion happened.
And now, let's discuss about the purpose of the whole story. Whose fault is it? Turner's dad's fault because of his irresponsibility as a dad? Turner's fault because of his immaturity? Let's ask a psychologist specialized in the attitude of the human being.
Well, the fault in this case is